Dude, where's my Mac? Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Euroman Movie Report. This week, jOBS. jOBS is a biography picture about the late Steve Jobs and how he came to found Apple Computers, you know, the company which builds iPhones, iPads, iMacs and all the other stuff that Apple make. Steve Jobs, he drops out of college and he found Apple Computer in his parents' garage together with a friend of his, Steve Wozniak, who is still alive, by the way. And the company quickly becomes bigger and bigger, but there's this conflict between Steve Jobs and the board of directors and the way he treats his employees. We know that from before because we have seen the movie Pirates of Silicon Valley starring, among others, Noah Wyle, you know, Mason from Falling Skies, and he also played a doctor on the 1990s series ER. And in my opinion, if you compare jOBS and Pirates of Silicon Valley, then Noah Wyle's Steve Jobs is much better than Ashton Kutcher's Steve Jobs. Ashton Kutcher does look the part, and he has, you can get from watching the film that Ashton Kutcher has studied how Steve Jobs, he walked, his facial expressions and stuff like that. But still, the way he portrays Jobs, it isn't as good, in my opinion, as Noah Wyle's version, because you get better in Noah Wyle's version. You better get to know the dark side of Steve Jobs, and the movie jOBS is more sanitized. And that said, Ashton Kutcher, he does look the part, and it's the best performance I have seen by Ashton Kutcher. He has really come a long way from "Dude, where's my car?" and to this. So what else is there to say? Yes, of course, we have a cameo by Juno's dad as one of the board members in when the movie moves into the 1980s. Well, you don't have that many mentionable other actors, and that's good in a way, because too many famous actors inserted into this story, it would have taken some away from the main character. But my main criticism regarding jOBS is that there's too much focus on the 70s and 80s and too little focus on the 90s and early 2000s, because, as we all know, Apple really took off after Jobs. He returned to Apple Computers, and another thing which the movie didn't focus on was the rivalry between Microsoft and Apple, and it would have been interesting to have seen some more focus on this war and the final peace agreement between Apple and Microsoft, as we know, us who have studied the story of those two companies. But all in all, it's an okay film. It's a good performance by Ashton Kutcher. Not perfect, but it's a good performance. And it really captures the feeling of the 1970s and 1980s. And the other actors, they do an okay job as well. And you get the feeling that Steve Jobs, he had a rough beginning because, as we know, he was adopted, and that really had an effect on him as a person, and he had therefore had some issues to struggle with, and Ashton Kutcher portrays these issues very good, in my opinion. So if I'm gonna rate this film, I would say Ashton Kutcher's performance, it's above average, and the story, as I said earlier, in my opinion, it should have focused more on the war between Microsoft and Apple, and we would have liked to seen somehow the development of the iPad, iPod, and of all the other stuff which made Apple rise from the grave. That would have been interesting to have seen in a film, but I guess the writers of the film didn't find that interesting enough. So that in mind, if I'm gonna rate this film, I will say 3 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles. That's it, Euroman of Euroman's Movie Report signing off, and I will see you in the next movie review.